welcome. We're gonna read some Touhou Creepypastas. Now, I don't know many of them, but there's 3 of them that I have for sure. We have Touhou 11 Incident, we have Touhou 5 Dark Square, and we have Touhou 6 Play as Rin Satsuki. So, these are Touhou Creepypastas. I'm gonna read them, but obviously just staring at words is boring. So I have a compilation of spooky fumo images scrolling on the screen, and we have spooky music playing as I read them. So, you know, this is just if you want to look at the video, but then you can just close the video and just listen to the sound. Hold on, we found another one. Touhou 1 Prayers Unanswered. Ooh. Okay, we have another one. Let me take that. Let me see. Alright. Please read the story while playing the song Misery Halik on loop. It'll enhance the experience. This is also a sequel to Touhou 5 Dark Square, so please read that first. I don't know what that is. Misery Halik. Hold on. I want to see what that is. I'm going to search it. Misery Halik. Alien Vendetta music. Map 20. Oh, it's Doom. Oh. You want me to listen to that while reading it? Oh, well, that's just... This dude's, like, playing the map. I just wanted the music. Okay, there you go. You know what? I'll abide by their request. Please listen to clown music 10-hour loop on YouTube. Enhance the experience. Shut up. So, no, I'll show the images for Dark Square. I'll save them and I'll show them. So, chat, which one do you want to start with? We got 4 of them so far. Which one do you want to start with? I'll let you pick. Now, I don't know anything about these. I don't know which one's better than the others. So, I'll just follow along with whatever stream asks. Okay. You want to start with Touhou 11, Touhou 11, Touhou 11, Touhou 11. It's a lot of Touhou 11. Okay. Alright. Let's start with the Touhou 11 incident. Alright. Are you ready, chat? So the thing you're seeing right now, chat, it gets about 4 minutes and then it loops. So I got a pretty good number of pictures. And that's good because I didn't have a lot of time to work on this. So I'm glad I was able to finish it pretty quickly. But yeah, it's just a compilation of images that were sent to me based on the theme. And a lot of them are pretty solid. Like that one. I like that one because that one is completely different, but also still perfectly in season. Alright. Alright, chat. Let's begin. The Touhou 11 incident. Quick notes. Readers unfamiliar with Touhou may want to look around the Touhou wiki after reading. Spells cast by characters clear the screen of enemies. Spells cast by bosses are difficult patterns of bullets. The player's gender is unknown, but all the characters in Touhou games are girls, except for one, but no one sees him anymore. When was this written? Once an unnamed player torrented a copy of Touhou Subterranean Animism, a PC game. The player had played other Touhou Danmaku Shioder games and especially loved Perfect Cherry Blossom, but still hadn't played anything past Phantasmagoria of Flower View. Now, this guy right here sounds like your atypical Touhou fan. Touhou games were only sold in Japan, so for the player who lived in the UK, it was impossible to buy a copy of any Touhou games without going online. Therefore, they torrented any they could find. Oddly, only one other person had downloaded the torrent the player was getting. The game started and nothing looked out of the ordinary with the start menu. There were the normal game start, options, exit, and other choices, and the practice start and extra start were still grayed, showing this was a fresh program with nothing unlocked yet. The player decided to play as Reimu A on Kappa, normal difficulty, because she was the player's favorite character. Her A power was based on Yukari from Perfect Cherry Blossom, and the player was wearing a red shirt at the time. Reimu's main color. That's going to be important for later, chat. It's going to be very important information. The player was wearing a red shirt at the time. I hope that information is vital to the story. Okay, take it seriously. Alright, no funny. Alright. As the game loaded the first stage, there was a shortened sentence of Japanese text, but the player's knowledge of what it meant was very limited. The program wasn't patched to be in English yet, so the player didn't pay much attention to the text. The first stage began. The background was a dark, narrow tunnel with a light coming from the bottom. The player did well and had no problems up to the first stage boss. The boss was a rather husky-looking woman with yellow webs over her brown clothes. Definitely spider-based. Oddly, the boss was more difficult than the player expected. A spider web would appear at times, and when the player passed over it, they got stuck for a few minutes, leaving them vulnerable to attacks. Now that would be neat. Regardless, the player finished the first stage with only one life lost, cheering for themselves after a job well done, and skipping the voiceless, text-based dialogue of Reimu supposedly talking to herself. It happens in almost all of the games. This is true. The second stage began loading with an odd text. Do you understand me now? The text was in English, unlike most of the in-game text up to that point. Usually only the starting screen options were in English. The player went through the second stage, shown as a wide open and slightly dimmed area with mossy rock walls. There was little challenge after the shock from the first boss. However, when the second boss appeared, the player lost all joyful emotions just by the sight of her. A dark aura was emitted from her that twisted the background. Her eyes glowed green, and when she cast spells, a spinning pentagram would appear behind her. She had curly blonde hair and had an odd Persian-style dress. She moved very oddly around the screen, and her spells were like nothing the player had seen before. Only one specific spell terrified the player, but they didn't know the name as most of the dialogue and names of spells were still in Japanese. It involved a cloud of green orbs chasing the player's character and leaving a trail of orbs. That's green-eyed monster. That's her mid-boss spell. That's not the boss spell. The grid of crowding the screen, making it hard to escape while the stage boss stood until damaged enough to begin the next spell. After struggling to beat this boss, the player was glad that this Touhou game was based on challenge more than other games of the series and loved the unique bullet patterns. Yeah, my immersion is a little bit crusty right now. The third stage began with more text in English. Are you here to play with me? The third stage background was a darkened town lit only by small lanterns. It was snowing slightly like it did in Perfect Cherry Blossom, and was very calming to the player after the depressing previous stage. This stage was much harder, and the boss seemed to be part of the stage. After the mid-stage encounter, the boss seemed to take no damage from the player's attacks. This is true. The boss was an Oni woman with long blonde hair and red eyes. She had a single horn on her head, wore a dark blue translucent skirt with red highlights, and had chains on her arms and ankles. She had no weapon and was only holding a sake dish. Again, the dialogue was only in Japanese, and the player ignored it. Even when it was officially the boss portion of the stage, she was difficult to dodge. The player lost all their lives, but rather than use a continue, the player decided to get an English patch to hopefully better know what all the characters were saying. Now, you wait just a fucking second. What did that say up top earlier? What did that say? It was impossible. Only other download players were playing. Still gray. Yep, game is first to attack Jeff knowledge was meant to be limited. The program wasn't patched to be in English yet, so the player didn't pay much attention to the text. Why wasn't it patched to be in English yet? Was the player a jackass? Or was it not? Was the patch not released? Or did the patch release between you starting the game and getting to stage 3? Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. What happened here? Okay, alright. Enough nitpicking. Where am I? When the player came back, the title screen was almost the same, except Reimu was frowning sadly on the character select. In almost every game, she smiled, and the player was certain she was the first time they played. When the player talked to the first boss, she was in fear, asking, "Have you come to harm me again?" and was scratched up a lot, but not bleeding. The boss battle seemed to have glitched because the boss made no attempt to attack and didn't shoot a single bullet. All the bosses did was move around the top of the screen, avoiding the player's attacks, more so than most bosses would. The player thought little of it and just kept playing. You know, you can just time the boss out and not actually attack them, right? Like, Touhou has timers on everything. Wow, that's some spooky lighting. Touhou has timers on every attack a boss has, so you can theoretically passive them the entire way through. So the fact that they're not shooting at you means if you just wait long enough, you will win the fight without hurting them. Just saying. Alright. Again, there was text before stage 2, but this time it said, "I think she deserved it too." Perhaps the patch was poorly translated or an error was made while torrenting. On the second stage boss, the player realized during dialogue Reimu wasn't talking to herself. All she said was ... The only words that were visible were from an unknown person who later introduced herself and was labeled in dialogue as Sealed Rose. The dialogue from Sealed Rose was odd and seemed to be asking for a response from Reimu, but all Reimu said was ... The stage 2 boss battle came again, during which the infamous spell name was revealed as Green-Eyed Invisible Monster. The first part seemed like another mistake in the patch scene as it was still in hiragana, while the second part was somewhat fitting, but the boss wasn't invisible during the spell, unless it was meant someone else with green eyes. The text before stage 3 this time said, "Why won't you speak?" At this moment, the player thought the text was from Sealed Rose and wanted to speak with the player. The third stage's background village was now burning, and instead of snow, there was ash falling from the sky. After getting to the boss with fewer problems than the first attempt, again, Reimu said nothing, and the dialogue of Sealed Rose said, "Hello." The player put on a headset and spoke into it, and a conversation began with the player's voice becoming Reimu's text-based dialogue. Holy shit. This is the future. Back when Touhou 11 released in 2007. The future. Oh. Where am I? Sealed Rose asked why the player hadn't responded before. The player claimed they were unable to. This in some way made Sealed Rose sad, as she didn't believe the player and thought that they didn't want to talk with her. Thinking the player had lied, Sealed Rose acted very hostile towards the player for the rest of the dialogue, refusing to calm down and stop talking with the player. The player kept talking into the microphone, trying to apologize to Sealed Rose. The stage 3 boss interrupted, believing the player to be crazy, talking to no one but themselves, and began attacking. This time the player knew how to beat the boss, but by not making as many mistakes as last time, and did much better. This time beating the only boss with only 2 lives lost and 1 gain from past levels. That's crazy. She got wiped. Okay, so our player here got wiped by Yugi, downloaded the English patch, and simply did much better. She made less mistakes and simply did much better. And she beat Yugi like it was no problem. Like it was no problem. Good job. The player found it very odd that how the game actually responded to the player's voice. It wasn't like Cleverbot. I just felt my gray hairs come in. Holy shit. Okay. Alright. Where was I? It wasn't like Cleverbot where it would make sense half the time or record the voice into text incorrectly. Whatever the player said was written perfectly, and while Sealed Rose responded fairly hostile, it was as if she understood it all. Not even highly funded games had mastered player voice mechanics, and Touhou was an indie made by one person. Perhaps more happened in Touhou 10 than the player thought, and indie games often do find huge advances in gaming just by the passion of one idea. Still, the player was frightened by how different this game was from the last ones. Even Flower View didn't change things up this much. But this guy didn't play Touhou 10. Hold on, our player? It said our player hasn't played a single game since... yeah, okay. Okay, you know what? Actually, no, that's fine. Because it's saying... It's inferring that they don't know what happened in Touhou 10 because they didn't play it. And their last experience. Never mind. There's nothing wrong with the writing there. I'm being a jackass. It's fine. Alright, here we go. Back into it. Stage 4 began loading and said, "Don't go just yet." It wasn't perfectly clear if the messages were from Sealed Rose anymore. Last time the player spoke to her, she seemed upset and wanted nothing to do with the player. Stage 4 began with a bird's eye view of a floor pattern with red and blue eyes, all of which appeared to stare directly at the player. A devilish sounding cat meowed was heard, sending a shiver up the player's spine. A black cat with a flaming silhouette and a spinning pentagram behind it flew onto the screen and began attacking. Unlike the Persian girl's pentagram, this cat's pentagram didn't disappear when the cat wasn't casting spells. The player just barely avoided the attacks. They wanted to pause for a moment to calm their nerves, but the escape key wasn't responding. Instead, the player started reaching for their own spells more frequently, just to stay alive. The cat kept meowing every 20 seconds, causing the player to shiver and make more mistakes. The player felt that they would have a heart attack and just wanted the battle to end. Eventually, the cat did run off when it had run out of spells for the stage, and the player started to calm down, fighting only weak enemies until they reached the last boss. Just a meow. The boss was a young-looking girl who wore a pink flowery skirt and light blue shirt. Her hair was short and purple like her eyes. The boss looked mostly human except for a red third eye hanging on tubes connected to many parts of her body. With an indifferent stare and monotone voice, she spoke to the player. "You must leave now." The name wasn't shown just yet, but the player assumed this was Sealed Rose. Again, Reimu set her blank, allowing the player to speak with the boss. The dialogue went on for a minute, over which the girl seemed to answer questions the player was just about to ask, but didn't explain much of what was really going on. The boss then said, "Leave now and do not play again. She is tormented enough." The player questioned more, but continued to get very little information. The girl demanded the player to stop immediately or she would be forced to fight. The player pleaded for the boss to let them through and even referred to them as Sealed Rose. The boss then said they didn't know anyone named Sealed Rose. "I am Satori Komeiji, mistress of the Palace of the Earth Spirits." The fight began. Satori started with simple attacks with transparent red and blue orbs that would overlap and become purple. Nothing special, but looked like something another boss from a different game would use. When she cast her first spell titled Bounded Field, Mesh of Light and Darkness, it was very familiar and looked similar to her transparent orb attack. Satori fired 2 clouds of bullets to the side of the player, one cloud red and the other blue, with lasers coming from the trails aimed towards the center. Not long after, a purple cloud was fired straight at the player, also with lasers coming from the trail left behind. Fortunately, the player was just thinking Satori would add to this attack and knew how to dodge it. The next attack was made up of lasers that would aim where the player was. The next spell began as a stream of bullets from the right, causing the player to move to the empty left. The player felt that they had dodged the spell before in a different game and quickly went to the right, believing they knew what the next part of the spell was. Suddenly, a large cone of lasers swept over from the left, making the wave of bullets to the right much safer and forcing the player to move faster through than what would have been safer. The player recognized the spell as someone else's. It was a spell from Perfect Cherry Blossom the player had remembered during the laser attack. It's the wrong spell card. Don't worry about it. Even the name was the same. It was Yuko's Lost Souls Village. As the battle went on, Satori cast harder and harder spells from previous games, each one reminding the player of more terrifying spells that came up later in the battle. The player knew how to beat most of the spells, but was slowing down because of the shock. After having to cast spells just to survive the cat, the player had no chance to do the damage needed to stop the spells. Most were being stopped by the timer that automatically started the next spell. Even after Satori's health was finally all gone, she cast Moko's Resurrection, bringing it all back. Satori even cast Green-Eyed Invisible Monster, but with the kanji before the spell. Eventually, the player understood that Satori was reading their mind and recreating spells from their memory. She simply recalled how to reincarnate. Is there a problem here, chat? Huh? What are you question marking for? The player then focused their thoughts to think only of easy bosses and their easiest spells. The bullet patterns were then very spread out and no challenge to dodge. When Satori mimicked the first boss's evasive glitched movement, the player stopped. refusing to continue fighting. The player eventually won simply by waiting for the timer to end. The player gained a life from the many spells despite dying a few times during the more difficult ones. The player felt that there'd be the final stage. The rest between bosses was too short, the boss seemed to go on forever, and an overall feeling of helplessness. But of course, there were still 2 more stages before the game was over, as in any Touhou game. The pause button still didn't work, and the player was still very curious as to what was going on with the game. Though the player felt they should stop now, they knew something evil was working in the game, and they felt they were the only one who could stop it. Text appeared as Stage 5 loaded. Suffer as I did. At this point, the player had no clue who was sending these messages. Sealed Rose had stopped talking during the in-game dialogue, and the only one who the player remembers suffering greatly was the first boss, or maybe Satori. The player heard a breeze of wind in the headset, and felt the equally chilling breeze against their skin. The background of Stage 5 was a dark red, lifeless field with patches of fire dimly lighting small areas. There was no grass, and no animals, moving or dead, could be seen. Black iron fences, gates, and walls decorated the scenery. The player heard murmurs from white ghosts that flew by, many of which disturbed the player or caused anger. The ghosts were the only thing on the screen other than the background, so the player decided to fire a stream of bullets at the ghosts. The bullets killed many of the ghosts, causing the player to hear screams of pain and panic. The stage had more ghosts further on, insulting and mocking the player more. But the voices weren't coming from the headset. They were coming straight from the player's mind. The screams could be heard from both the headset and the player's mind and were especially unnerving. Eventually, the cat from the previous stage appeared again, meowing the same bone-freezing sound. This time, the cat had much more powerful attacks and was joined by morbid-looking fairies who would cry blood from their black, empty eyes. I knew Zalgo was gonna appear at some point. There it is. Yep, there's the Zalgo. Bro, turn off the PC. Did you not hear the last line, brother? There's an evil in this game and only this player can stop it. Why do you have an emote of this? What? What the ew. Yeah, I guess so. Sure, why not? Okay. Alright. We're gonna continue. The player was dreading the cat's spells, but could hear what they believed to be the cat's thoughts. The player dodged the later attacks perfectly based on the information they heard from the cat. By the end, dialogue from Sealed Rose was seen. Hurry to me. Reimu had no dialogue, not even the blank for the player to speak. Where the player shouted, it seemed unheard. The player didn't even try to escape the game. They were so invested with how odd the game was acting, they wanted to reach the end and hopefully know what was going on. The dreaded text appeared, saying, "You shall receive eternal torture." The background started pitch black and faded to a violent, fiery landscape with magma flowing over it. Human bodies and corpses could be seen mutilated across the scenery. Some still crawling, barely alive. The bodies were being shoveled into the fires as more were delivered by giant, horrible-looking creatures that were half human and half animal. Not like the normal animal people of Touhou, but were much more animalistic and frightening to look at. The name of the music for the stage didn't disappear as it did on the other stages. Chat. Now, I know what you're thinking. Like, why does he continue to play the game? Well, the answer is, if you found yourself in this situation, would you turn the game off? Or would you call a friend on Discord and be like, yo, and stream that shit? Well, you wouldn't turn that shit off. You would see that through to the end. Yeah, exactly. Morbid curiosity. By the way, chat, on the popular pages, there's currently 5 creepypastas there. There's the Russian Sleep Experiment, there's Tomino's Hell, there's Ben Drown, there's The Rake, and there's Normal Porn for Normal People. Now, I don't know what that is. I'm very curious because the picture that's next to it is a picture of a very feral-looking monkey. But, yeah. Those are the 5 popular pages on the Creepypasta Wiki. If there was an actual creepypasta game, if there was an actual creepypasta, like, Like, someone found, like, an actual, honest-to-God, like, this is a game, like, I found, and it's Creepypasta-esque, they would be streaming that shit. Hands down. That's the age we live in. You wouldn't be playing this shit alone in your room. That's why Creepypasta games don't exist anymore. They only existed in the years where you could get, you know, not have to prove that. The music was given the fitting name of Hellfire Mantle. Mantle spelled M-A-N-T-E-L, by the way. Ravens swarmed the player in the game, luckily only taking one life and being more of a nuance than a threat to the player's progress. You mean a nuisance? Whatever. The cat's meow was heard again, but when it jumped in, it instantly fell into a dark gap that was only there for a short instance. Rainbow said her ... dots, but the player had nothing to say. A new mystery person with no name said, "No need to thank me, honorable opponent." The player was very confused, but had no time to be distracted, as the background became a starry void as the final boss flew in. A large raven flew in. It had a bright red reptile-like eye, and small luminous orb was orbiting around. The raven spoke in deep but still female voice, saying, "How could you know that? There's no voice. I finally found you." Wait a minute, how does that make any sense? There's no voice acting in this game. How do you know she has a deep but still female voice? Whatever. The dialogue between the player and the raven didn't give much explanation to the game. The raven only told the player that Satori Komeiji was a creature known as a Satori, a Japanese mythological creature, and was the owner of the cat and the raven. The raven didn't know anyone named Sealed Rose and had no knowledge of the other stages, what the player had seen on their way, except what she'd already knew of the Satori and cat. The raven then finished the dialogue with, "Enough talk, my new master wants you to suffer." The raven attacked with a blast of blinding bright light and deafening explosions. It was as if the computer settings had been manually changed to maximum brightness and sound. Unlike Satori or the cat, the raven was focused on intimidation through monstrous strength and dazzling displays of how small and helpless the player was. As intimidating as the raven attacks were for the player, as a person they didn't feel like they were in any danger. Streamer, the game had mutilated bodies a moment ago, but the voice acting is where the line is drawn. Listen, buddy. Pal. The game earlier said that there was no voice acting, and now there's voice acting. Alright? There's an inconsistency. There's a flaw in the story. Just because bodies hit the floor and started getting flung around in hell, that's fine, because it's not like at the start of the story it said, "Hey, I'm going to play this game," and in the disclaimer it says, "There is no mutilated corpses or bodies being thrown in hell here." Alright? It didn't break its own rule. This having Oku be like understandable text through a voice breaks the rules that were set forth. Alright? But the other one, your example, doesn't count, doesn't work. Because there was no rule there in the first place. Alright. The effects looked enormous compared to the tiny rainbow sprite, but to the player they only looked big because they took up 2/3 of their 14 by 9 inch screen. The player could feel the heat and hear the magnitude of the explosions and almost fell over in their chair. But the only thing the player could imagine losing if all their lives were lost was the game itself, which could be replayed at any time. Satori did frighten the player with her odd ability to recreate spells the player thought about, and the cat at first seemed to leap off the screen and how real it sounded. But after some thought, the player realized they were never in any real danger. The player was unsure if the game really was coming to life or it was just a genius work of programming and design. The player still didn't want to lose after coming this far and took the Raven's attempt at intimidation as a challenge to beat the final boss at that moment. As the battle went on, the player began to sweat and was playing better than they had in any other game, Touhou or otherwise. The player noticed the Raven was starting to use larger and larger spells that looked impressive, but couldn't slow the player from winning. In a desperate move for the final spell, the Raven began to suck in the player's character into what seemed to be a black hole, instead of which was the blackest darkness the player had ever seen, as if not even the computer screen in that area was giving off light. The spell intrigued the player in how a simple game could stop the computer's natural lighting, but still wasn't stopped in their newfound goal to beat the game. After finishing the final boss, the player got their lives back and the game seemed to end. Child, I'm reading this serious, and this story is like, I'm playing super good, and you're just posting fucking Wicked. You're posting the Wicked Frog. That's your response? You take this seriously, alright? Stop laughing. This is a real experience. Told by somebody's point of view. I don't know whose. Ignoring the ending scenes, the player was beginning to calm down. The horrifying idea of a self-aware game seemed distant by now. The player had conquered a great obstacle that at first seemed impossible to beat. At that time, the player still didn't understand how the game could pull at them so much, but imagined it was all just programming that in no way affected them. It was late. The player was tired and wanted to sleep on the ideas of how the game came to exist and how it was made so perfectly. But when the player tried to get up from their chair, they couldn't. As hard as the player tried to lift themselves out of the chair, it felt as if a dark energy was holding them in. Leaving so soon, text said. The player quickly pressed the escape key many times with no results. The player then tried Control-Alt-Delete, but nothing changed. Even as the player held their computer's power button for several seconds, they were helpless to stop the game and could only stare at the screen as the game loaded the extra stage. Up to this point, the player had felt like a hero when playing, as if they could take on anything the game could throw at them and walk away at any time without the slightest threat of physical injury. Now, they were without a doubt scared shitless. Not only were they physically stuck in front of their computer, they still couldn't pause or quit, but the game was meant to end after stage 6 like it did in all games. They didn't press the extra start option. The player was only on normal. Extra stages were often on par with lunatic difficulty, the hardest in any game they were in. Somebody's gonna have a comment on that, but I ain't saying shit. As the player's character slowly scrolled up the stage's bloody stone background with no music but ambient sounds of wind and screams of fear, the only things seen were murmuring ghosts and zombie fairies crying blood, both of which the player knew better than to shoot at. The sound of the ghosts were heard normally, and not from inside the player's head, but still just as nerve-wracking. However, there would seem to be an eternity of soft and paralyzing background music. The boss appeared. Welcome. Now we can truly play. The boss was a young girl like Satori, but a few inches shorter and wearing a green skirt with a slightly flowered design and yellowish-orange shirt with a black inside. She had a black sun hat with a blue rose bulb placed in on it, and her hair was grayed green. She was turned away from the player with her eyes closed, and she had a third eye similar to Satori, but was colored blue and tightly closed with spite. Didn't know spite was a good physical descriptor. Reimu said her blanks once more, meaning the player was allowed to speak. Why are you doing this? To which the extra stage boss answered, you deserve to suffer. They all deserve to. Where is Sanai? This guy didn't play Touhou 10, so he doesn't know who Sanai is. So, you know, he didn't bother mentioning her because he didn't know who that is. The player responded, what have they done? They insulted my friendship. You insulted my companionship. You all have insulted me in your thoughts. I know you have. The player wondered what she meant. He didn't remember saying anything hurtful to the boss, nor to the mysterious sealed rose. I never said any insults to you. I didn't even think anything harmful. The girl hastily and angrily replied, I know what humans think. I've read their thoughts and saw only hatred and cruelty. I may have given that power up, but I will never forget the hate that I heard from their selfish minds. I just realized I forgot to change the title. Alright, fixed it. Who programmed you? Asked the player, hoping to get reassurance that this was still only a game. Programmed me? Ignorant human, you really don't understand what has entered your pathetic machine, do you? Holy shit, what is a Koishi? This is not the Koishi I know. Who are you? The player asked. The girl turned around, opened her emerald green eyes, her third eye not opening at all, and as her name appeared on the screen, replied, my name is Koishi Komeiji, but I also like the name Sealed Rose. Koishi's sinister theme began, titled Hartman's Yokai Girl. No matter how hard the player dodged, the player was losing badly. Koishi didn't just make confusing designs. Many consciously aimed at the player's location and adjusted as the player was beginning to find a way to survive. When the player was on their last life, Koishi shot an oddly colored life token that the player had no chance to avoid. The player's last life changed colors from a white star to a pale blue heart. From then on, whenever the player would have died again, the character would flash for half a second, and the player felt realistic pain on their skin. Koishi's spells weren't just trying to hit the player while playing the game, but more to torture them mentally as they tried to avoid them. In one spell, knives would ease in on the character, causing the player to anticipate the pain, but still try to resist while also dodging Koishi's other bullets. When touched by any of the knives, the player felt scratches and stabbing pains on their skin. At times, Koishi wasn't even visible and couldn't be harmed. All that could be seen were 2 points that looked like eyes staring blankly into the player's soul. The player was starting to bleed where cuts had overlapped, but was too focused on preventing new wounds to put pressure on the ones that were bleeding. The player felt they would faint from the mental and physical stress, but suddenly, the character disappeared into a black gap like the one that swallowed the cat and reappeared in another location. The player was then given the message, Supernatural Border. It's the wrong game. The player was no longer feeling pain and didn't seem to get damage from Koishi's bullets. The player was able to win, defeating Koishi, but still unsure how any of what had happened was possible, and again questioned the events of past stages. Reimu's ellipses text appeared again after the boss dialogue. The player asked, "Who are you?" hoping for someone, anyone to respond. Text appeared, and in a sweet voice the player read and heard, "The one behind the spiriting away, the border is mine." And that's it. That's it. Nope. There you go. That was the Touhou 11 incident. You know what? It could have been worse. You know? There were some aspects to it that are fascinating to think about. But for the most part, it's still pretty schlocky. But again, I've seen bad creepypastas. This one was okay. I like, if you told me that this was the best one, I'd be, you know, I wouldn't be surprised. But honestly, for the most part, that wasn't terrible. It was not amazing, but I give it a solid 4 or 5 out of 10. It had its moments, and it did have some interesting ideas, but for the most part, it was rough. All right, chat. So now we have 3 more. So what do you want to see next? So we have Touhou 5 Dark Square, Touhou 1 Prayers Unanswered, which is a sequel to Dark Square, so we have to read that one after, and Touhou 6 Play as Rin Satsuki. So what do you think? Burnt Luigi, Sonic game, Above the Hell Valley Sky Trees, Touhou 5 Dark Square, and Walbert, Animal Crossing. You want to do Dark Square? So we can do Dark Square. Hold on. We can do Dark Square, Rin, Unanswered Prayers, because Unanswered Prayers is a sequel, so we have to read it after Dark Square. But do we want to read it directly after it, you know? Maybe we do it like that. Sound good? I think this one has pictures. I'll post them on the screen. Alright. Okay. Alright, let's do it. Touhou 5, Dark Square. Quick notes. Please play and or beat the following games in order to understand some context about the story. Touhou 1, Highly Responsive to Prayers. Touhou 5, Mystic Square. Alright, chat. If you've never played those games, please leave. Also, please read the story while playing the song Misery Halleck on loop. It'll enhance the experience. What, they both want me to play that? Fine. Fine. Alright. Alright, ready? Here we go. I'm a Touhou fan. That's a great start. More than one, actually. What does that mean? What? I'm a Touhou fan more than one. You're multiple people? What? What? What does that sentence mean? I've bought a Reimu and a Mima coffee mug to go along with, since the PC98 games are actually my favorite series of games. Ain't you special? I never cared much for the Windows games aside from the 6th Embodiment of Scarlet Devil or the 7th Perfect Cherry Blossom. Okay. I'm also an introvert, but honestly I wouldn't call myself a weeaboo, even though I've watched the unofficial Touhou anime. Either way, that's not what I'm here to talk about. That was the scariest opening paragraph I've ever read. Okay. Okay. Alright. I decided to look on around on forums to see if there actually were any ROM hacks for the first 5 Touhou games. I searched earlier with no real luck. Maybe they were hosted on other sites or Google didn't pick them up. But as I checked later, I found a forum leading to someone saying that the ROM of Touhou 5 they took off a physical copy of the game, which are rare, crashed their PC when trying to run it through the emulator Neko Project. Now this is in the context of a Windows PC, not the actual Japanese PC98 itself they used to pull the ROM off. When their PC would start up, it would flash a red and then start up normally. They didn't know what to do, so they posted the ROM on the forum to see if anyone else could figure it out. Most people replied to them saying their computer may be too old to run it, which didn't make sense. So I replied on the forum that I'll give it a look and see if it works on my system. I used the newer version of Neko Project and it ran fine, except for the fact that the game was mostly in English and it didn't have the official English patch watermark underneath the giant in English Mystic Square. The normal image below shows an edit of the normal English patch without the watermark. The questionable part of it was that if we were on a Japanese PC98 disc, it couldn't have been in English. But I had to go eat lunch, so I went and did that first. What the fuck does that even mean, buddy? What do you mean you had to go eat lunch? Here, chat. Did that work? I thought I could just drag and drop. No, that must be XSplit only. Oh, it's a WebM file. Okay, fine. You know what? I'm just going to display capture so you can see it. Okay, chat. Here's what the image looks like. This is going to be really stupid, but let me see. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Oh, hold on. Aliens. Oh, whatever. All right, so here's what the screen looks like. Here's what the screen looks like, chat. Okay, you see it? All right, so here's what it's supposed to look like. Here's what their version looks like. Interesting. Okay. I come back to my computer, no crash, nothing. However, the title screen did look different. For one, Reimu's eyes were closed and shedding tears. There was no quit button either. I didn't even notice that, actually. There was no quit button either. However, the change that really caught my eye at the first sight was the red and black yin-yang orb. Now, if this was some guy's... What the fuck is that image? If this was some guy's ROM hack and you've played the first game in the series, a red and black yin-yang orb actually isn't that strange to begin with. A red and black yin-yang orb actually shows up as the first boss of the first game, highly responsive to prayers, named Shingyoku. The missing quit button, however, I tried to expect it, but no luck. I was running it on Neko Project so I could close it at any time. But I digress. It was time for me to actually play the game. I hit start and picked Yuka. Stage 1 was normal, as it should be. I had put the difficulty on hard, yet I've never truly beaten this game. This guy loves PC98 and he's never beat Mystic Square. And I was shooting enemies and dodging projectiles. It was Mystic Square. I got up to the first boss, Sarah, and she said the first lines of dialogue she would normally say, but then I saw this. This. Do you think this is a joke? Why is her hand red? Is she wearing gloves? That's what she saw. Okay. Sarah here normally have a smug expression and smile here, normally styled eyes in pink as well, though this ROM her eyes were entirely empty, black. There was nothing. As she had a grin I had never seen on Sarah's face before. The smile was, oh boy, I got a bit frightened first seeing this. One other thing to note is that Sarah usually says that's because I'm supposed to be here, not this. I was also too in shock from the face and line to notice until the time of writing that she had blood on her arm. Not hyper-realistic blood, but the coloring implied that it was blood. Thank you. Thank you for specifying that it's not hyper-realistic. Yuka said her usual response of killing Sarah instantly, and Sarah said the same line about taunting Yuka using the normal portrait. Though Yuka's response meant business when she said, I'll kill you instantly. Sarah's bullet patterns were normal, but one thing was different. She really did die in one hit. Yuka's dialogue came up, and then when I pressed C to advance to the next dialogue... Okay. What the fuck? Dude, you are... I'm sorry? You are worse than the stories. Straight up. Holy shit, watching you type makes my head hurt. Please, stop doing that every fucking time at the end of your messages. Just stop, man. Christ. Think about it. Come back and do it again, and I'll never see you again. I'll be happy for it. Okay. What the fuck? I don't even know where to begin with this. Sarah's color palette was entirely red, and her eyes went black. Part of her sprite were missing as well. The dialogue here was usually about Sarah complaining that Yuka didn't kill her instantly, but here the text seemed to be there, but had layers of other text over it. I didn't try to decipher what exactly the other layers of text were, because I more or less just wanted to move on. That image, though, that's something that'll haunt me for quite a bit. After trying to get Sarah's red, eyeless face out of my mind, I went on to stage 2. I noticed that there was similar. Everything was pretty much the same in terms of stage 2. Again, I shot enemies, dodged bullets, and was playing Mystic Square. But when I saw Luis, the stage 2 boss, come up, the dialogue appeared. Luis looked untouched. A pattern I had begun to notice at this point was that Yuka's dialogue never changed, but said the same lines as if she would in game. But another thing I quickly noticed was that there was an underlying story element to this ROM hack. Shinky's gone mad. Please leave. Shinky's gone mad. I'm sure she's doing fine. Luis seemed to be warning Yuka of going further, and she looked completely untouched compared to Sarah. After the dialogue, Luis would use her normal bullet patterns on hard mode, but they were super slow, like she was giving Yuka a second chance to go back. I started to feel bad. Luis was probably telling not just Yuka, but possibly as many players as she could to escape Makai. Normally in the game's plot, the demons of Makai were leaving because they wanted to tour against Sokyo. It was clear here that that wasn't the case. Instead, they were escaping from Shinky's torment. I'm sorry, Luis, but I have to kill you to move on to the next stage. Forgive me. I made my way onto stage 3. This time there was no music. It was dead silent. There were no enemies either. The background stayed the same, but there was nothing here. I held down the Z key to fire shots so that I could get rid of the creepy lack of sound, but now the game was really pulling on my heartstrings with what I saw next. Oh. What did I see next? This is what I saw next. I can't read what that says. Alice, are you okay? You'll be fine. Walk it off, champ. Usually this exchange would be something of Alice trying to hush Yuka or shoo her away from Makai. The thing I first noticed about her was that she was bleeding from her eyes. Her left more so than her right. If this was Shinky's doing, God, what happened to her? She must have had something done to her that caused her to do this, and I doubt bleeding eyes were Alice's only wounds. I went past the dialogue screen and Alice didn't do anything at all. She wasn't moving or sending bullets my way. It seemed though she was implying she wanted to die. I moved in several different directions to see if she would move eventually, but she didn't. She stood there waiting for me to kill her. I actually somewhat started to tear up at the sight. Alice, Shinky's adoptive daughter, Infanon, had been wounded, and she wanted me to kill her for mercy's sake. By the way, that Infanon is in the dialogue. It's in bracket. I actually said in a whisper, remember I was hesitant to do this, and pressed the Z button. I heard a delayed beep and she had died normally. No dialogue after that. A tear rolled down my cheek as I pressed Z to go to the score screen and onto the next stage. Stage 4 was no different from Stage 3. The silence and lack of enemies were there. I again held down the Z button and got rid of the silence. This ROM hack story was actually quite intriguing. I have to give some respect to the dev for this one. Stage 4, I got to Yuki and Mai. No dialogue occurred, and they sent an unbeatable bullet pattern towards me, taking all of my lives and taking all of my continues. I got to the high score screen, and after moving past it, this final image was shown to me. Chat, I scrolled down too early and saw this, and that's why I laughed. She looks adorable. She looks adorable. Happy. No spooky. No spooky. A slowed down version of End of the World, World's End played along with this image as soon as it showed up. For at least 10 seconds, Shinky seemed to be staring right at me with cold eyes. Black, I don't know how to pronounce that, but you know, eye whites. Sclera. S-C-L-E-R-A. There's no vowel there. And white rings for the irises. This was especially unnerving. Louise wasn't lying. Shinky did go insane. Her smile wasn't that of a warm smile she normally had on, but the smile of a cold-blooded murderer. She'd probably been tormenting Makai for quite a while. And no wonder things were getting worse the farther I got in the game. Sara was Makai's gatekeeper. Of course, she'd be on one of the darker ones first. Shinky probably didn't even think that about Louise when tormenting Makai, so Louise was able to escape. And Alice, she must have been abused by her. The glitch-layered text was most likely because of some sort of curse put on them to keep them from warning people about Shinky. Similar to Metal Gear Solid's Lali Lule Lo. Okay, honestly I don't know, and I don't want to know. After the screen went to full black, Neko Project went into a not responding state and crashed. At that point I DM'd the forum user that it would have been better that their PC crashed than for them to witness the horrors the ROM actually had in store. And that's it. That's the story. And yeah. Okay. There you go. There you go. I can appreciate that the story didn't try to do anything ridiculously outlandish. It also had pictures, which is always a nice thing. Pictures are a nice aspect for these kinds of things. It really helps sell the story more. But no, not bad. Not as long either. I thought it was neat. Some of the pictures were funny though, I gotta say. That Shinky one is funny. I think it's more adorable than scary. Yeah, not terrible. Honestly, not terrible. I don't think it was that bad at all. No one's ever really tried to make like a spooky Touhou game before, have they? I wonder about that. Alright, well chat, that's another one down. So let's move on. So now we have Touhou 6 play as Rin Satsuki, English patch. And we also have Prayers Unanswered, which we'll be finishing with. Same, I think it's the same guy actually. But it's a follow-up to that one, and probably has pictures, and it wants me to play this alien music. But we're going to go back to this music, and we're going to read Touhou 6, play as Rin Satsuki. Ready? Here we go. I am a big fan of the Touhou series of games created by Zun. I have played through every English patch Touhou game and was looking for more Touhou games. One day I was reading comments on a video of a playthrough of Touhou 6 Embodiment of Scarlet Devil. Like many YouTube videos, there were a lot of immature comments. Preach, brother. However, one comment caught my eye. It said, "Did you know that Touhou 6 has plugins available to add onto it, like the ones that let you play as Rin Satsuki?" Curious, I decided to Google Touhou Rin Satsuki. Don't do this. This is a virus. The Touhou Wiki page on her said that she was a deleted playable character in Touhou 6, and that her name and attack types can be found buried in the code of the game's data files. Now fully interested, I googled Touhou 6 Play as Rin Satsuki plugin. Don't do this. This is a virus. Strangely, only one viable result came up, but as Touhou 6 Play as Rin Satsuki English patch. I was surprised and happy to find an English patch to play as this character, and downloaded the zip file containing the patch right away. Only after it started downloading did I see some sort of warning message under the download link, but my browser crashed as soon as the patch downloaded, and for some reason I could no longer access the page. Attempting to restore the tab didn't even work. Luckily, the zip file downloaded successfully, which I then extracted. Inside were two files. The first was patch.exe. Fucking peanut gallery comments when I read this shit, man. I swear to God, motherfuckers think you're so funny. Why don't you do it? You get up here and read it. Okay, where the fuck was I? Where was I? The first was patch.exe. The second was readme.txt. I opened the second file first. It was simply one word. Help. Confused, I decided to run patch.exe. It was an installer type program. It asked me where the folder containing my copy of Touhou 6 was, so I gave it that information. It started a patching process immediately, but the progress bar seemed to be stuck after about 5 minutes at 54%. 10 minutes later, though, it started moving again and was finished 1.5 minutes later. Excited to test out the new patch, I went to the folder with Touhou 6 in it, and I immediately noticed 3 things. Number 1, the icon for the game had changed. Before it was Marissa's happy face with an E in the lower right hand corner. Now it was just that E by itself. Chat, I'm going to show you the picture because I cannot believe this. I legitimately cannot believe this. So the author provided an image of what it looks like normally, and they provided an image of what their version looks like. They were not kidding. Only the E remained. Insane. Okay. Number 2, the name of the game's EXE had been changed as well to TH6 Lost Song of the Wind Blossom E.exe. Number 3, the README file had been overwritten by the README text file I mentioned earlier. At this point, I felt a little nervous, but quickly shook it off. I started up the game. The first thing I saw was the loading screen. It was different. It was a deeper red than the original, and unlike the indent usual loading screen, it was in single tense, e.g. replacing girls with girl. And instead of Scarlet Magic, it said Scarlet Blood. Likewise, it said, "We'll listen to this story rather than solve this mystery." Then it went to the title screen, but it was in a grayish colors, and it was just the spot where Reimu sits. Not Reimu sit. Empty, except for what appeared to be a puddle of blood with no text at all, with no music playing. So I pressed enter, and the only options on the screen that appeared were start and extra start. I was startled because instead of the normal selection sound, it was the sound of a knife being sharpened. Extra start was grayed out and unselectable, so I picked start and it went to the difficulty select screen. The only option was lunatic, but it had the extra mode's description, "Give up already, are you crazy?" I selected it, sending me to the character and spell select screen. Instead of Reimu and Marissa being selectable, there was just Rin Satsuki, with the spell option simply being wind sign or flower sign, with no descriptions. Rin was smiling and looked happy, but her eyes were closed and her colors were muted. I went with wind sign. The game started in the first level, but this was when things seemed to be really off. They did not seem to be any enemies, but I was already at full power, yet I had no bombs available. The whole screen was eerily reddish, and the forest looked destroyed, as if by a miniature Sorry, I misread. As if by a hurricane. There was distorted, glitchy music and no sound effects, and I could not pause. Her shots looked like miniature tornadoes that went in random paths. There appeared to be some blood splattered here and there on the ground, but still no enemies, until I got to the first mid-boss, who was also the first boss of the game. She looked very beat up and bloody, flying away erratically when I got to her instead of fighting me. Rin then started speaking like Reimu and Marissa would, with her eyes closed. So much destruction, so many fatalities. Then her eyes opened. They were black with red pupils, with blood coming out of them, and her text was also bloody, as it was for the rest of the game. As she flew over the river, which was blood instead of water, with more blood staining the brown grass. And this is all your fault, because you forgot about me. Anyway, let's see what or who else suffered because you forgot about me. Anyway, chat, here's the image. Here's the image. Here you go. This is the image. He's playing the spooky game. And it's all blood. It's all bloody. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now that we've seen that, you burn that into your retinas, we can move on. The only screenshot I could get. I then came upon the first boss, Rumiya, who was lying on the ground, hardly moving, near death in a pool of blood. Ah, it's you. You're still alive? Let me fix that. I noticed I now had a bomb, but before I could press the X key to use it, Rin seemed to use it for me. Motherfucker, you were gonna press that? How dare you? Unleashing a giant hurricane made of pure whitish red energy that sliced through Rumiya several times, reducing her to a small splatter of blood before she could speak. I don't like this story anymore. Rin then spoke again. There is no escape from the forgotten. The game seemed to skip the results screen and went straight to the next level, which is over a huge lake. Well, you know who's next, right? However, like the river... What? The lake was now made of blood. I passed by the mid-boss, who was dead. I mean, the fairies don't die. But okay. Floating in the lake of blood. Then a minute later, the boss Chirno, who was also dead and floating. Rin said, "Nothing to see here." Then the next level appeared. There was not much to see, for the whole level was empty. But Rin said, "China is the only other one who escaped." Meaning Mei-Ling, the level's boss, was somehow still alive in this twisted version of the game. Level 4 started, the library. In short, it was a complete mess, with the shelves fallen and books strewn everywhere. The mid-boss was merely a pile of guts and a couple wings eerily intact. The boss of the level, Patchouli, was dead, face down in a pool of blood, half crushed by a fallen bookshelf. Level 5 was skipped. Level 6 started instead. Level 5 was skipped because I didn't want to write anymore. With Rin saying the maid escaped as well. This meant that State Level 5's boss, Sakuya, was also alive. In Level 6, blood was splattered everywhere once again, and the mid-boss was skipped, having been Sakuya, who was evidently hiding away. Finally, I got to Ramilia, the 6th boss. She was nailed to a cross with a wooden spike nailed into her chest. Rin said at this point, "Oh dear foolish sister, locking me away like that. What? You got what you deserved." I then heard a blood-curdling evil laugh as it went back to the title screen. Rin and Flandoy are not the same character. I was scared at that point, but I then chose to select Extra Start. I heard the evil laugh again as the screen went black. All that appeared was the bloody text saying "You and Owen" was me! With the same evil laugh looping over and over again. And it wouldn't still let me pause or do anything to stop it. I had to use Control-Alt-Delete to end the program. I was about to close the file window showing the game, but then I wondered, where were Marissa and Reimu? I then saw a new file had somehow appeared, titled congratulations.png. I opened it, and it was a staticky picture of Rin in black and white standing above what looked to be Reimu and Marissa in heavily muted clothes with spikes impaling them. And on the picture, written in bloody text, but in a more curvy manner was the words, "You're next." Would you like to see, chat? Would you like to see the spooky image? I'm sure you would. Here, I'll show you the spooky image. Here you go. Is that what it looks like down there? I can't really tell. Okay. Alright. I realized that earlier when trying to pause, I had pressed print screen, so I went into Paint and pasted the screenshot and saved it. I saved the creepy picture, the screenshot, and the icon file, and deleted the patched game. However, even to this day, I can still occasionally hear that blood-curdling evil laugh, but faintly. Why did she have to pulp Rumia like that? Also, why is Rin Flandre? Primo creepypasta food. Yeah. That was about what you'd expect, right? Yeah, alright. Nah, fine by me. Hey, Mei-Ling and Sakuya escaped. They got away. You know, they're living their best life now. All right, and now chat. We have one more. Touhou 1, prayers unanswered. This is the last one. Which honestly has been going for an hour. That's pretty good for 3 stories. So, not bad. Creepypastas are funny. They're kind of enjoyable too. Okay, you ready? Quick note, please play or beat the following games. Highly responsive prayers. Please read the story. Okay, I read all that. Are you ready, chat? I found the unedited image from the end. Oh, really? Is it actually that? Is it actually Rin, like, impaling people? Or is it just, like, been heavily distorted to make it look like that? Hold on, I want to know the answer. It's spookier, yeah. Wait, really? Really? The original image is actually scarier. Really? I kind of want to see it, but I'm morbidly curious. Show it. I don't have it. Wow. Okay. Oh, it's the SMT artist? Oh, okay. Then yeah, this isn't going to be that scary. This is going to be more fascinating than anything. Hold on. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's the SMT artist. It's this chat. It's the original image. So it's not necessarily like... Well, maybe it is actually. It might be in this case. I mean, that's pretty fucking freaky. But yeah, this guy's art is insane. He does like a bunch of Touhou SMT-esque characters. And they're very like, they're very fascinating. Okay. Yeah, it's weird. It's like, is it actually them or is it? I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. It's a very fascinating image, though. Okay. All right. Thank you for the raid, Christian. All right, ready, chat? Let's begin. Past the Mystic Square ROM I had found earlier, the forum user posted again about one of Highly Responsive to Prayers, which, by the way, Highly Responsive to Prayers does not have any dialogue at all, nor really any story. That is very true. So true. This motherfucker's PC must crash a lot. I was majorly questioning their damn specs. I replied to them and asked why their PC crashed so much and what their specs were. Lo and behold, he was running Windows 7 with 1 GB of RAM and a CPU from 2001. I was annoyed at this. What the hell was he doing running this kind of tech in 2020? 2020? Oh my god. But whatever, I told him that I'd run the next ROM he found as I was curious for more ROM hacks. Again, if anything genuinely creeped me out, I could just close the game at any time because it was a ROM. And nothing else. I'm thinking this guy lied about the whole I got it off a disc thing because this one was English patched as well. Enough gabbing. I loaded up the ROM. The title screen was... you can guess what I'm going to say next. Not normal. Oh, here you go, chat. I'll show you this first. Okay, pay attention, please. So here's the default. This is the default title screen, you know. Okay, yeah, normal title screen. All right, you see it? Look at it. You understand it? Here's the new title screen. The highly responsive to prayers. It's purple. There's a quit option. 1996. Wow. By Zun. 1996, not by Zun. Oh. Interesting. Wow. Very different. Okay. Where am I? Not normal for one, though supposed to be a more red palette, not this indigo one shown here. Was it really necessary to change the title screen every time? It must have been part of some creep factor. There wasn't really anything on highly responsive prayers title screen to begin with. It looked like a color swap for the most part here. Big deal, color palette change. I decided to load up the normal ROM and take a screenshot of that just to make the comparison image for those who didn't know or wanted a good comparison without having to look online. Well, thank you. It's very nice of you. Enough gabbing, let's play. I didn't take any screenshots of the game because there are no dialogue pauses. I had to go through the entire game without screenshots or I would have died. Or you could screenshot and pause the game. Dingus. I don't feel like recording a video of it either just to take screen caps. The quality would be low and I don't feel like dealing with that shit. Man, this guy's got an out for every avenue. He's got me. Well. So the game starts out as normal. I'm hitting the cards with the yin yang orb. This is the part of gaming creepypastas where they go everything is normal and then gets progressively worse. But so far I hadn't actually seen any changes. I picked the Makai path and literally the entire game. Literally the entire game was normal aside from the title screen. I paused when I got to Sariel since for some reason I always started the shit without eating. I went to go eat dinner and like in Dark Square the game had changed. Sariel, she was already killed when I got back. Played the ending and I'm not sure exactly why. I asked the forum user not to play any more of this shit that they were finding. One, because it was probably going to harm their computer due to its crashing. Two, they put me through unnecessary garbage. And three, it's getting old. I'm done looking for ROMs from this guy. That's the end chat. He went to go eat, came back, and Sariel was dead. That's it. That's it. That's literally it. Alright, chat. Do you know of any other ones? Or is that the end of it? We can do a bonus one real quick because I'm very curious. What is this? Walbert. This is okay. This is popular apparently. This is a creepypasta about an Animal Crossing. Walbert. I'm gonna read it as bonus. If anyone knows of another Touhou one, let me know. Otherwise, we will just we'll finish with this little bonus because I want to see it. Chat. This is Walbert. Can I zoom out? Holy shit. If you see this villager on your island, do not talk to them. Walbert is a bug in the latest Animal Crossing New Horizons update that will corrupt your save data. Fucking rat. Alright. Oh, hold on. Did we get a new one? SCP-6959. Hold on, I'm gonna get that right now, and I will take a look at that after the Walbert story. Oh my god, no way, that's a real no way. You're lying. All right, let's read Walbert real quick. This is bonus, and then we'll read the SCP. Stick around for the end. The SCP is Touhou, but we're gonna read Walbert. I know I'm right, but I was a Nintendo Switch player since 2009. I'm also a big fan of Animal Crossing, and maybe I shouldn't talk about my privacy. Anyway, I should get to the story. Part 1, Hunting Walbert. I discovered him in the middle of the woods when I was playing Animal Crossing New Horizons, but I was going to check Reddit to see if the rumors were true, and I saw the real Walbert with an image on him saying, "This is Walbert. If you see this villager on your island, do not talk to them. Walbert is a bug in the latest Animal Crossing New Horizons update that will corrupt your save data." Yeah, I knew it was fake, but I did not see him. Part 2, The Discovery. I was playing Animal Crossing New Horizons with my friends, but I saw him in one of my friend's island. I got up close to him and I did not see anything. Part 2.5, we saw him. We ran far away from him, but I did not. Part 3, the finale. I finally did it to myself. I walked up to him and my Nintendo Switch crashed. 3.5, next day. That still haunts me, but I said I looked into his... No, it's pitch black eyes that still looked into my character and the screen went black. Whenever I turn on my Switch, I still feel its screams from the game. It still terrifies me to this day. Said John. Walbert has blue ears with a purple inside and has a black hole for a mouth and slits for eyes. Hmm? Okay. Walbert. Bert Luigi. Look at Bert Luigi. Luigi, no, he's burnt. No. Okay, all right. No more sidetracks. Let's okay. SCP-6959. All right. Chad, do you know what SCP? I'll show you a picture. This is SCP-6959. No shit. No shitting you. I'm not kidding. This is it. This is it. Okay. Object class safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-6959 is to be kept in a vacuum-sealed chamber suspended by 2 surrounding electromagnets kept charged by a constant supply of power. Generators are to be inspected every 2 days for faults. The object's containment cell is constructed of steel-enforced concrete, with the only entrance to the cell being a secure airlock requiring clearance for or above permission to be opened. Any unauthorized entrance detected within the cell will be met with immediate termination to prevent a containment failure. Any testing performed on SCP-6959 must be authorized by Site Director Rorans. Description. SCP-6959 resembles a fumo plush doll of the character Chirno from the video game Embodiment of Scarlet Devil. SCP-6959 has no discernible aesthetic differences from any factory-made doll apart from lacking a tag. The object's makeup consists entirely of strange matter, displaying all hypothesized characteristics associated with the substance. It is currently unknown how SCP-6959 came to have its current appearance. Research regarding its origin in space and how it came to be on a collision course with Earth is ongoing. SCP-6959 presents a significant danger to Earth, as any matter it comes into contact with will undergo an instant conversion and be added to SCP-6959's mass. It is hypothesized that SCP-6959 could completely convert the Earth within 5 hours of initial contact, resulting in an XK-class end of the world scenario. Due to the properties of strange matter, efforts to destroy it or cause cellular decay in SCP-6959 have proved useless, and research suggests SCP-6959 could only be permanently removed if jettisoned into a black hole or through the use of paradimensional anomalies. Discovery. The earliest record of SCP-6959's existence was a routine NASA drone's report on 2/17/09. It was determined to be on a collision course with the Earth. Foundation efforts were requested when SCP-6959 was successfully inserted into a temporary containment unit on 3/11/22. No origin point for SCP-6959's travel has been determined. Further research is pending. I'm not reading all this test log shit. I'm not reading all that. Just putting that out there. Okay. Alright. There you go, chat. It's too long. It's just so much shit, man. It's not even like... I don't even know what it has to do with any of it. But there you go, chat. We have read Touhou Scary Spaghettis. And... yeah. I had a good time. I hope you had a good time as well. But I don't really think that creepypastas are good in general. Like, I never do. They're always full of shenanigans that get a laugh out of you anyway. But they were better than I thought they were going to be. But I have extremely low standards. So there's that. But I'm pleasantly surprised. Some of the subject matter that some of them tackled was interesting. And it didn't go too off the rails and be absolutely, like, demented levels of stupid. But yeah, not bad. Okay. Alright. There you go, chat. We're gonna now get out of here. Or, well, I thought there'd be more, but honestly, like, the 4 together equaling out to over an hour is still pretty good. I'm impressed by that. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. And maybe there's not gonna be more. No one's gonna write more. It's probably better that way. But reading creepypastas is actually kind of fun. So you found 2 more. Wait a minute, we're not done. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. We may have just got bonus content right before I ended. Touhou 14. Save them for next year. There's only 2 of them, dog. There might be more. What the hell? Okay. Alright, well, this one's got some length to it. This one is gamer. Alright, we're gonna do it. Here we go, chat. Buckle up. We're not done yet, apparently. Here we go. Touhou 14. That's what this is called. I had always prided myself on being 2 things, rather fearless and rather good at games. Any game I owned was guaranteed to have been completed on hard mode, no matter what the time span took to reach the end. I would charge headfirst into a fight and successfully disarm an attacker who would otherwise have stabbed me. Cool. I prided myself on those 2 things. I also prided myself on my Touhou achievements. Now, the screenshot I see has the game being played on normal mode. Just saying. To those who haven't played the Touhou games, there are a series of vertical shooters where you dodge bullets while firing your own to progress through 7 increasingly difficult stages, with a boss at each stage. There are nearly 20 games in total for the entire saga. Through 7 incredibly difficult stages. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say you counted the extra stage there, but you don't play the extra stage in a row with the main story. That's not how that works. Alright. I had beaten all the Touhou games, including the PC 98 games. You name it, I had cleared it on both hard and lunatic lunatic modes. Subterranean Animism, Mystic Square, Double Spoiler. That doesn't have difficulty options. All that were in my Touhou folder were cleared. You can imagine my excitement when out of the blue, my friend, let's call them A, tells me they found a demo for the newest game, Touhou 14. Even kindly enough providing a download link from RapidShare. Legit enough, right? Aside from that, I haven't seen users freaking out on Tumblr, nor any official announcement on Touhou Wikia. None of that penetrated my thick skull as I downloaded the file, though. Okay. After an hour and a half of total download, unzip, and install time, the folder sat innocently on my desktop. Touhou 14. This was nothing new. I only named the folders for my games with the English name, and this was a demo. There was no English name, however, but at this point, the time had gone 10 p.m., and college beckoned in the morning for a 6 a.m. start. I shut down my laptop and readied myself for bed, barely drifting off into a fitful, dreamless sleep. When I awoke, there was still murky, residual darkness outside, viewable via the window opposite my bed. Flipping open the mobile phone I kept on my bedside table, the screen illuminated the time blindingly into my dark, habituated eyes. 4:44 a.m. With a groan, I rolled over back onto the pillow, but to no avail. I flipped and rolled for seemingly hours, with no success of sleeping. Giving in, I dragged myself out of bed for a shower and some tea, a ritual I had recently accustomed myself to. When does he play the game? By 5:59 a.m., I had eaten, showered, and was in the process of blow-drying my hair, before dressing when the flashing blue light from my laptop caught my attention. Strange. I'd switched it off the night before, giving my newly dried hair a shake and a drag through with a flat brush. I toggled the touchpad of the laptop, only to find I hadn't pressed the off option when switching off last night. No big deal, it meant I could fool around for a bit until 6:30 when I had to leave for the bus to college. I thought school started at 6 a.m. It meant that, surprise, surprise, I could give the new Touhou installment a whirl before form. It's true, with only 3 stages, you can crank that out in about 10 minutes. Pulling a dress over my newly brushed hair and panties under my dress. Why does this even... Why not just read that? Why is that in your story? Who the fuck are you? I executed the file inside the folder, strangely enough named in boxes where it would usually be named something along the lines of TH14 demo. However, I assumed it'd be the original Japanese text that my tottering, unupdated laptop couldn't read, and shrugged it off as I settled back down to the seat in front of the screen, black as the executable file booted itself up. In seconds, the title screen was up, amazingly similar to the title screen of For 10 Desires, but with no sound. I sighed, thinking it was an error in patching that deleted the music file. I had this problem with Perfect Cherry Blossom, starting up a new game. I was pleasantly surprised to find new playable characters, Flandre, Nue, Komachi, and Utsu. What game are you playing? I was even happier to see that these playable characters were what most fans would consider fairly strong characters, especially Utsu and Flandre. Now, Nue had always been a favorite of mine, so my directional pad headed straight for her option. Hitting the Z button, however, yielded no result aside from a loud scream from my laptop. Okay. Stupid thing, I thought. Must have been damaged the game file. I got the same result from Flandre and Utsu, leaving me a little hope that Komachi would work. Amazingly, her option agreed with my laptop, and stage 1 fired up. But again, there was no music. The normal, vibrant background colors were dull and boringly enough. However, when playing FPS games, my laptop tended to be sometimes mess with colors, so I paid little heed. There's also no bullets to dodge, no fairies appeared, no mid-boss, only small cloud-like enemies floating across the screen. The minute I launched an attack on them, though, they fled, leaving a black box behind instead of the usual red power-ups or green point boxes? Green? Oh, this motherfucker's colorblind! Oh no! Upon collecting these, a strange thing happened. After I collected 10 of these boxes, the screen faded to black, making the loudest static noise ever, jumping halfway out of my skin at the unexpected noise. I simply held down the power switch to turn off my laptop. Catching sight of my clock on the wall, the time read 6:25. Probably time for me to go. College awaited me. It took you 25 minutes to get to the first stage? Some fucking gamer. When I came home that night, I started up Touhou 14 again, hoping that cool-off time would improve the game. This time there was music for the title screen, however, it wasn't a Zun-type sound. It was more several title themes all played over each other. I took it as another quirk of the damage my laptop could inflict on games. This time, however, there was no character select after the title screen. There was no controls at all. They were taken over by the computer, as though in demo mode. It controlled itself as it moved Komachi across the screen, attacking all that came in her path in a rather uncharacteristic way for Komachi. Another strange move, all enemies fled her. The background looked rather like the inside of Yukari's Gap as shown in the fighter games like Scarlet Weather Rhapsody, extending so far that the bomb, life, and power counters were hidden. I'm dying. The next shock came when the boss of the level showed up. A very stressed-looking Shinki appeared, warning Komachi to turn back. Not too surprising, since there was no aforementioned incident. Komachi has a job to do, right? Before any back and forth could occur between the characters, as is the norm, the game launched Komachi forward, causing her scythe to cleave her boss in half. I sat staring, dumbfounded, at the screen as blood seeped from the halved pixels, spreading over the screen until the gap-like background was obscured by red. The game handed control back to me. I shook as I carried on to level 2, confronted by some fleeing fairies. Again, they dropped black boxes. However, this time there was no static sound. I was transported directly to Stage 2, a setting that resembled the flowing lava of Subterranean Animism Stage 6. This time a visibly irritated and fearful Rin appeared, warning Komachi that to go deeper is a danger even she wouldn't approach. Komachi's control was taken from me at this point. Again, she was launched into the kasha, slicing the girl's head from her shoulders. My trembling increased as a split frame appeared on my screen long enough to print screen it upon minimizing of the game and pasting of the screenshot into MS Paint. The frame appeared to be that of what looked like a young cosplayer, about 14 years old, dressed as Flandre. Her cosplay was cut open shoddily down the front, exposing her, with the shards she used to decorate her wings impaling her chest and abdomen, and what seemed to be broken bones sticking out of her right arm. Blood took up most of the shot. That's fucking great. That's fantastic. I'm really glad I just read that, chat. Now, remember what I said earlier before I finished this? How most of these hadn't been... they weren't really, like, super offensive. They didn't go too crazy. What the fuck is this? What the fuck am I reading? Bile started to rise in my throat as I realized just what kind of game this was. I deleted the image. This motherfucker took a frame 1 60 FPS screenshot of this, by the way. I deleted the image and tried to exit the game, but there was no exit command. Alt F4 would not work. The laptop would not turn off. The game did not show as being run on Task Manager. On the contrary, it showed only critical processes as running. I was faced with no choice but to finish the game. Brother, throw that laptop out the window. The format carried on as aforementioned for 5 more horrible levels. A myriad of different characters being slaughtered by what should have been a fairly easygoing fairy woman. All 3 of the mischievous fairy trio at once. Alice Margatroyd, Aya Momiji in the same level. Futo, Tojiko, and Miko all at once. And the last level, Nue and Mamizo, my 2 favorites out of the whole game, were dismembered before my eyes, even though they were only pixels. As the game carried on, the split frames appeared for longer amounts of time, making sure I could see the atrocities. All Touhou cosplayers. After the Flandre, then a Byakuren, her throat slit. An Utso, broken bones poking out from every limb and the neck at a sick angle. A Remilia with her intestines removed and wrapped tightly around her neck, acting as a noose. A Yuyuko with hands, feet, eyes, and head cleaved from the body. A Yuka impaled through the chest with several knives. A Hina whose face, legs, and arms were badly charred, as well as a portion of the dress and some of the wig, the one similarly. Aside from the complete lifelessness of the youth of the girls, whose age ranged from around 9 to 16, was that the clothes were all shoddily cut open down the front, exposing far more of the deceased girls than should have been. Why did I read this? It's not done, by the way. At the end of the game, the agonizingly slow blacking out of the image of the Hina cosplayer came to the credits. Without any credits, no words were on the screen, only blackness, until the usual end of the game would be, and special thanks to you! I'm still not sure how to fully the experience has affected me, but I certainly no longer pride myself on fearlessness. Anything red makes me vomit. Anything Touhou makes me faint. I can't hear the original soundtracks of any of the games without descending into a debilitating panic attack. I dream about the murdered girls, suffering flashbacks to their dead eyes. The police took away my laptop, searched the file, but it must have done something to itself. The entire motherboard was completely useless, melted and corrupted beyond saving. The download link had disappeared from RapidShare. I see my therapist twice a week. She says I have post-traumatic stress disorder. All I know is that I can see those dead faces, and will until I die. So you said you had another one, right? I want that other one because I hope to God it's a palate cleanser. Because that was awful. That was terrible. Curse of the Cherry Blossom Tree. Alright. This is the true last one, chat. This is the true last one. Surprised Nightbot didn't kill you for that one, though. Here we go. I was a big fan of Touhou. Oh, this one's post tense. Or past tense, I guess. Really, I like this game where you dodge bullets and gain power, but there is one game that haven't been completed. And it was in that day. I watched Walfuz and Mugen until I received a message from one of my friends. It said, check out this game I received from the creator himself. Yeah, fucking right. So I checked it out. It had the download link down below, and when I finished downloading it, I went to play the game, but the title screen wasn't normal. There was no picture and no music, and only its left is just text. Chat, I know how that sounds. I read that word for word. I read that word for word. And only its left is just text. I picked start game and set it on normal. However, instead of the character select screen, it skipped me right over to the game. Zonhan delivered this to the man. The game plays is normal, but except for the music. It wasn't playing until I got to the first boss, which is Rumia. She looks different. She looks depressed. She said that her friends died because of Reimu. The fight begins and I won easily. Why? What is that writing? However, when it went to the dialogue, she was bleeding. Her face was covered in blood and her belly was cut wide open. Rumia responded, "Why are you doing this?" No. Why? Why would you do that? The second stage was playing very well, but still no music. The boss was Chirno. She was crying. The fight began, but Chirno wasn't attacking. When I beat her, Chirno made a loud scream. I was feeling so bad. I felt like a monster. The third stage looked a little different. The river was covered in blood, and instead of fairies, it changed to imps. The third boss was Yuko. She was talking about the curse of the blossom tree. This tree will only possess anyone who touched it. The person will have wild and violent behavior. If cursed, it cuts to the battle. When I won, her outfit was covered in blood. Her arms were cut out. Yuko was screaming in pain. She's a ghost. She's a fucking ghost. She's already dead. Are you serious? Oh my god. You can't do that to a ghost. She's already dead. What are you doing? Ectoplasm. And I started to question myself. Who made this horrible game? Well, apparently Zun. I paused the game and started to question myself. Wait. Can I read that again? Let me read that again. Let me take that from the top. And I started to question myself. Who made this horrible game? I paused the game and started to question myself. Why would Zun made this? The other game don't have blood, but why this one? I'm starting to question myself. The next stage was even more horrible. Dead bodies were floating on the river of blood. The next boss was Yomu. She saw Reimu killed Yuko, and now Yomu wants to kill Reimu for Yuko. When I won again, she let out a loud scream, and the dialogue said, "Yuko, forgive me," and she faded. The next stage was even more horrible than the last stage. The sky was black. There was fire all over the city of Gensokyo. Even the Hakude Shrine was burning into ashes. The next boss was Marisa Kirisame. She what? WAN apostrophe T. What does that mean? Where did that go? You want to end this catastrophe. The boss fight began, and I won with just only 1 lives and 3 bombs left. Instead of the dialogue, it showed an animated cutscene of Marissa dying. Spelled D-I-E-I-I-N-G, by the way. D-I-E-I-N-G. Marissa is dying. My favorite character died right before my eyes. Then Reimu looks at the mirror. Reimu's face was distorted. Her eyes were soulless. Then Reimu screams, realizing that she was cursed. The screen fades white, and the dialogue appeared and said, "I'm sorry." Then the game quits on its own. And when I reloaded the game, the extra stage was open. However, the title screen was different. There were fire everywhere, and in the middle, there was a blossom tree. I chooses the extra stage, and there was a cutscene where Reimu was flying to the blossom tree. She knew what must be done. When I get to the final boss, I was about to face M. Reimu. Holy shit, I said. Why is she here in the game? I know M. Reimu very well, because it was a Mugen character made by Oki Haito. What the fuck is M. Reimu? Excuse me? M. Reimu Mugen. M. Reimu. Oh my god, are you serious? Ah! Cool. Here, chat. Here's a picture. Here's M. Reimu. That's a... No, that's a video. Hold on. Here, I know you want to see M. Reimu. Here's M. Reimu. This is M. Reimu. That's M. Reimu. It's kind of insane, actually. That's a Mugen character? How come I don't have that in my Mugen packs? Still waiting for those, by the way, chat. Still waiting. But why did Zun added her? And behind her, there was a blossom tree. The fight begins, and I lost. It shows a cutscene where Reimu was bleeding. M. Reimu was about to finish her, but before she did, Reimu uses... capitalized. Reimu's not capitalized here, but uses is. Her last spell card. It launched a large yin-yang bullet. It was headed towards to the blossom tree. It made a large explosion. The screen was white, and I couldn't see. When the white fades, Gensokyo was normal. All the fairies and bosses came back to life, and Reimu woke up in her shrine. She went outside and sat down. She looks at me and said, "Thank you." Then the game quits again, and I deleted the game and the link quick before it spread. It was this day that I witnessed the devil's plans, but for now we won't know what would happen next. Okay. Alright. Okay. Wait, don't tell me you just gave me another one. Touhou.exe? No way. No way. There's no way there's another one, dog. Disclaimer, this is pure fiction. Do not take this pasta seriously. Okay, alright, chat. We got a funny closer. Alright, here we go. Here's a funny closer. Hello there, my name is Lila, not the one from Miraculous Ladybug. I am a big fan of Touhou. I have not played any glitchy or hack versions of my #1 favorite game series. I will never because of an experience I had a few years back. It was a normal Wednesday evening. I was bored because I kept replaying all of my Touhou games on my computer, so I went to my local GameStop to buy a new copy of Touhou to try it on my PC. It was then that I realized that they do not sell Touhou at GameStop. Maybe you should have thought about that before you bought a Touhou game at GameStop. Then I saw a weird copy. It just said Touhou.exe. I know it said do not take it seriously, but how the fuck do you go to GameStop and see an executable file? That doesn't even make any sense! That would cover it all. Just Touhou.exe. I thought it weird, but I thought, whatever, I'll just buy it. I went home, plopped it on my PC. The title screen had Reimu on the screen with bloodshot eyes and a creepy smile, and the only option was start. And it led me to a stage called 666. It was gruesome. There were dead bodies of my favorite characters. Flandre, Sakuya, etc. Because I only have 2 favorite characters. I was traumatized that I threw up in my trash can. After I threw up, Reimu appeared on the screen and said to me, "You are trapped." I immediately took out the disc, put the disc in the cover, and burned it into my fire pit. And that night I had nightmares of Reimu stabbing and dismembering me. And I still have the same nightmares to this day, and I cannot sleep. Did someone just write this at the end of the stream? There's a comment from October 4th, 2023. So the answer is no. Okay. Alright, chat. That's it. We did it. We did it. Alright, chat. So, there you go. You know what? Hold on, chat. Is ChatGTP free? To close this segment, let's open ChatGTP and ask it to write a Touhou creepypasta. Okay, how's that sound? Sounds fun? Alright. Login, sign up. Oh no, I don't have an account for this. Sign up. No, hold on. Sign up. Email, yeah. Continue. Password, I don't care. Just, yeah, do that. Verify my email. Yeah, verify email address. Tell us about you. No is my first name, and thanks is my last name. And my birthday is 4/20, 1988. Okay. Verify my phone number. You just want fucking everything. Why do you want my phone number? Can I just make this up? No, I sent a code from it. Whatever. Send me my fucking... Go ahead. Do it. 2-step verification. Enter the code. My name is No Thanks, by the way. I didn't think this would take that much time. Ask away. Don't share sensitive info. Check your facts. Okay. So, chat, how does this shit work? How do I use it? How do I use this thing? Oh, that needs to not be shown. Well, it's gonna show my email. That's genius. Yeah, whatever. Just put me back in. I'll just crop it. Not very smart. Click new chat. Alright. Hold on, I need to... I can't get rid of that. No. Well. Guess I'll have to make a new account. Okay. Hold on. Create an account. Give me my other one. I don't care if that one's... Just gonna have to edit this now, aren't I? Great. Password. No. Suggest strong. Yeah. Open Gmail. No, don't add another fucking account, dumbass. My first name is Nada, and my last name is Chance. My birthday is 3/4/1967. Yeah. Yeah, give me the fucking code, bitch. Alright, much better. Alright, so chat, how do we use this thing? What do I click on? Do I click on send a message? Say hi. Okay, hi. How could I assist you today? Tell them to make a fictional horror story about Touhou Project. Okay. Make a fictional horror story about Touhou Project. Oh shit. Okay. Title: The Haunting of Gensokyo, The Curse of the Scarlet Mansion. Alright. In the mysterious land of Gensokyo, where humans and yokai coexist, a sinister darkness has fallen upon the Scarlet Double Mansion. Rumors of eerie occurrences began to spread like wildfire among the residents, both humans and yokai alike. It all started on a gloomy, overcast day when Reimu Hakude, the Shrine Maiden, received a letter from the mansion's mistress, Lamilia Scarlet. The letter read, Dear Reimu, I request your presence at the Scarlet Double Mansion immediately. A dark and malevolent force has awakened within these walls, and I fear for the safety of my fellow residents. Please help us uncover the truth behind this curse. Sincerely, Lamilia Scarlet. Reimu, known for her unwavering bravery and curiosity, wasted no time and headed to the mansion. Upon arrival, she was greeted by Sakuya, the mansion's head maid. Her once cheerful demeanor had been replaced by an air of deep concern. Thank you for coming, Reimu. We're at a loss as to what's happening here, Sakuya said, her voice trembling. It all began when we discovered a strange old grimoire deep within the mansion's library. Since then, strange occurrences have plagued the mansion. Objects move on their own, chilling whispers echo in the hallways, and an oppressive, malevolent aura hangs in the air. hangs in the air. Reimu nodded and agreed to help, and together they entered the mansion. As they delved deeper into its gothic interior, they could feel an ominous presence growing stronger. The walls seemed to absorb their very life force, and the portraits that adorn the hallways appeared to shift and gaze upon them with accursed eyes. The duo soon encountered the mansion's other residents, including Flandre Scarlet, Remilia's younger sister, who had a history of destructive power and insanity. Flandre seemed to be particularly affected by the curse, her power spiraling out of control. She cryptically whispered that the grimoire was awake and that it whispered secrets to her in the dead of night. It's kind of freaky, actually. It's actually kind of freaky. As Reimu and Sakuya ventured into the library, they uncovered the grimoire bound in leather that felt cold to the touch. It radiated an aura of pure malevolence. Upon opening it, they were engulfed in a torrent of darkness, and the very mansion itself seemed to come alive. The curse within the grimoire sought to trap those who dared disturb it within the pages of the cursed book, feeding off their fears and anxieties. It was an ancient vengeful spirit seeking vengeance for a forgotten injustice. Reimu and Sakuya had to confront their deepest fears and insecurities as they navigated the surreal landscapes within the cursed book. It was a journey fraught with danger as the grimoire conjured phantoms from their past and forced them to confront the consequences of their actions. As they finally approached the heart of the cursed book, they encountered Remilia, who was trapped and tormented by her darkest fears. Together they managed to break the cursed hold on her and escape the grimoire's clutches. With Remilia free and the curse broken, the Scarlet Mansion was finally at peace. Flandre's powers were no longer out of control, and the mansion's eerie occurrences ceased. The cursed grimoire was sealed away at a place where no one could stumble upon it again. Gensoki returned to his tranquil state, and Reimu left the Scarlet Double Mansion, her heart heavy with the knowledge of the malevolent force that lay hidden in the world of Touhou Project. It was a reminder that even in a land filled with fantastical beings and magic, darkness could lurk where you least expect it. Yeah, that's kind of cool, actually. Alright. Can you make a horror story of Touhou Project with fumos? Fumos of the Forgotten Shrine. In the depths of Gensokyo, a sinister... Can you write me a horror story based on Touhou Project as a video game with the point of view of a player encountering strange things happening during it and spit some creepypasta out? Is it good? Okay, let's read this and then I want to try that. I'm gonna use that exact prompt and see what we get. In the depths of Gensokyo, a sinister mystery unfurled that would send chills down the spine of even the bravest yokai and humans. Tale began in the shadowy corridors of the Hakude Shrine, the dwelling of the place of Reimu Hakude. The shrine had been abandoned for centuries, with only fumos, the fleshy representations of the Touhou Project characters, as its sole inhabitants. What the fuck? One stormy night, Marisa Kirisame, Reimu's close friend, decided to visit the shrine to search for a rare spellbook. Little did she know her curiosity would lead her down a path of unimaginable horror. As Marissa approached the shrine, she couldn't shake off the eerie feeling that someone or something was watching her. The shrine's interior was filled with countless fumos, each one exuding an unnatural and unsettling aura. Their button eyes seemed to follow her every movement, and their stitched smiles appeared in more like sinister grins. Marissa finally found the spellbook she sought, but as she reached out to grab it, the fumos began to move. They twitched, hopped, and slowly encircled her, closing in like a noose. Terrified, Marissa desperately tried to escape, but the fumos were relentless. In a panicked state, she recited a spell, intending to repel them with her magic, but it only served to intensify the curse that had taken hold of the fumos. The fleshy horror is now animated by malevolent forces. Swarm Marissa. Their soft exteriors hid razor-sharp claws and teeth that tore at her flesh. Their giggles turned into maniacal laughter as they dragged her deeper into the shrine's shadows. Holy shit! What the fuck? Marissa's desperate cries echoed throughout the night, but no one would come to her aid. The Hakude Shrine, long forgotten, had become a cursed domain inhabited only by vengeful fumos. The next day, Reimu, worried about Marissa's absence, ventured to the shrine. What she found was a scene of pure horror. The once beloved fumos now bore sinister grins, bloodstains, and malevolent aura. The shrine itself seemed to pulse with dark energy. Reimu understood that something was terribly wrong, but she knew the only way to save her friend and restore the shrine's peace was to confront the curse that had overtaken the fumos. Armed with her own formidable abilities, she stepped into the shadowy depths of the shrine. The curse's origin lay within an ancient, forgotten grimoire hidden in the depths of the shrine. Reimu, guided by her determination and bravery, defeated the malevolent spirit that had possessed the fumos and sealed it back into the cursed book. Marissa's dead, by the way. With the curse broken, the fumos returned to their passive, inanimate state. Marissa, though, scarred both physically and emotionally, was saved from their clutches. The Hakude Shrine, once a place of darkness and despair, began to slowly return to its former state. Not dead. The Fumos, now cleansed of the curse, remained as guardians of the shrine, watching over it with a sense of melancholy. The forgotten shrine had witnessed horrors beyond imagination, but it was once again a place of solitude and tranquility. However, the memory of the Fumo's nightmarish transformation would forever linger in the minds of those who dared to enter. Wow. Marissa got ganked. Okay, what was the prompt again? Let me scroll up. Maybe I can grab it. I'm gonna word for word this. Okay, we're gonna word for word this. Copy and paste. Title: Intrusion of the Yokai, a Touhou Nightmare. As a devoted player of the Touhou Project series, I have logged countless hours in Gensokyo, battling powerful yokai and unraveling mysteries. However, one fateful night, my gaming experience took an unsettling turn that I could never have anticipated. Oh. I sat in front of my computer, ready to dive into the world of Touhou once more. My chosen character was Reimu Hakude, and I embarked on a journey to explore the mystical Hakude Shrine. The game started as usual with the serene scenery of the shrine grounds and the iconic catchy music setting the stage for adventure. But as I delved deeper into the game, something felt off. The background music grew distorted and eerie. The once vibrant colors of Gensokyo had taken on a muted, desaturated hue. My heart began to race as I realized that this was not the Touhou I knew. As I moved Reimu throughout the game, I encountered strange yokai, but they were different from the usual cheerful, mischievous characters. Their eyes bore an emptiness, and their words were chilling. They whispered secrets about Gensokyo's dark past and the tragic fates of forgotten characters. True. The gameplay became increasingly difficult, with bullets coming at me faster and more complex patterns. The enemies seemed to move with uncanny precision, anticipating my every move. I couldn't help but feel as if the game itself had become sentient and malevolent. My character's dialogue lines took a disturbing turn, too. Reimu spoke of being trapped in a never-ending nightmare and her fear of never escaping Gensokyo. It was as if the boundary between the game and the reality had blurred. Despite my growing unease, I pressed on, determined to uncover the mystery beyond the surreal experience. It was as if Gensokyo itself had become a haunted realm, and I was trapped within it. As I approached the Hakude Shrine, I just realized I didn't even need to show ChatGTP. I could have just let that be, but whatever. As I approached the Hakude Shrine, I was met with a horrifying sight. Reimu Hakude, my character, stood alone in the shrine's darkness, surrounded by the grotesque apparitions of characters long forgotten in the Touhou lore. Their blank, featureless faces stared at me, their eerie silence deafening. I desperately tried to exit the game, but it was as if Gensokyo had claimed me. The only way out was to continue playing, to confront whatever malevolent force had taken hold of the game. They love the word malevolent here. The final boss battle was a nightmare incarnate. The boss, a nightmarish amalgamation of all the yokai I had encountered, whispering, taunting words, and launching a barrage of bullets that were almost impossible to dodge. My fingers were sore from the frantic button mashing as I fought for survival. After what felt like an eternity, I defeated the boss, and the game abruptly returned to the normal state. The vibrant colors, joyful music, and familiar characters reappeared. I sat there trembling as the end credits rolled. I had survived the nightmare in Gensokyo, but the experience had left me haunted. Was it just a glitch, a twisted dream, or something far more sinister? I couldn't be sure, but I knew that I would never look at the Touhou Project series the same way again. The boundary between the virtual world and reality had become blurred, and the strange occurrences in the game would forever remain a chilling enigma. Watch this. I was actually going to do that, backfire. Like, straight up. Can you write a Sonic.exe creepypasta, but with Fumos instead of Sonic characters? Fumo's Reckoning, a plushy nightmare. In the realm of fan-made creations inspired by Sonic the Hedgehog, there existed a game known as fumo.exe. This was no ordinary fan game. It was dark, twisted version of the popular Sonic.exe creepypasta, but with a diabolical twist. Instead of Sonic characters, it featured the innocent and beloved Fumos from the Touhou Project series. The tale of Fumo EXE begins like any other creepypasta story. A dedicated gamer, let's call him Jake, had stumbled upon a mysterious game file while browsing an obscure internet forum. The file contained an executable named fumo.exe, and the accompanying post promised a haunting experience like no other. Curiosity got the best of Jake, and he decided to download the game. After launching, the screen went black, and the title fumo.exe appeared in blood red letters. The eerie chime of the title music sent a shiver down his spine as he pressed on. I think, hold on. Yeah, the playlist finished. Alright. Where am I? Jake found himself controlling a fumo character, which should have been endearing, but felt oddly out of place. The cheerful Touhou music that usually accompanied the fumos had been replaced with a dissonant, haunting melody. The pixelated fumo on the screen bore a sinister grin and empty eyes. The gameplay was eerily similar to the original Sonic.exe creepypasta. As the fumo ran through the game's levels, grotesque and twisted versions of other fumos appeared. They twitched and shivered, their plushy exteriors tattered and stained with unnatural colors. They whispered unsettling phrases like, "Join us, and you cannot escape." Despite the unsettling nature of the game, Jake continued to play, driven by morbid curiosity. The game's levels grew increasingly dark and disturbing, with fumos being chased and attacked by nightmarish creatures. The cheerful world of Gensokyo was warped into a hellscape of torment and despair. Suddenly, the game crashed and a text box appeared on the screen. "You shouldn't have played this game, Jake." As Jake tried to exit the game, he realized he couldn't. The fumo character, now drenched in blood and surrounded by mutilated fumos, began to speak in a distorted, unnatural voice. "You're next," it hissed. Panicking, Jake forcefully shut down his computer, hoping to escape the horrors that unfolded before him. When he rebooted his system, the game seemed to have vanished. It was as if fumo.exe had never existed. Over the following days, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. His fumo plushies, once beloved and comforting, seemed to leer at him from the shelves. He heard whispers in the night, faint giggles that sent shivers down his spine. As the days turned into weeks, Jake's mental state deteriorated. He couldn't sleep, convinced that the malevolent fumos from the game were lurking in the shadows, waiting for him. The torment became too much to bear, and Jake's descent into madness was inevitable. He vanished one night, leaving only a note that read, "The fumos are real." His room was filled with fumos, each one bearing the same sinister grim. The legend of fumo.exe persisted, whispered among those brave enough to delve into the darkest corners of the internet. Some believed it had nothing more than a twisted urban legend, while others feared the curse of the malevolent fumos waited to ensnare anyone who dared to play their dreadful game. That was a good fucking story. Okay, chat, you know what? Let's do one more. I did not realize ChatGTP had so much like effort in here for this shit. That was so stupid. Write a fictional horror story about the character Jun. No, I'm not doing that. I like the Fumo one. I want to do another Fumo one. I want another prompt, but with Fumos. Right. Okay, hold on. Write me a creepypasta about hold on. Write me a creepypasta about Fumos at 3 a.m. Does this work? It's trying. Title: Fumo Nightmares at 3 a.m. It was a dark and stormy night, and I found myself alone in my dimly lit room, the glow of my computer screen casting eerie shadows. The clock ticked relentlessly, and the hour approached 3 a.m., a time notorious for the supernatural and unexplainable. My curiosity got the best of me as I decided to dive deep into the world of Fumos, the cute plushy creatures from the Touhou project, during this ominous hour. I'd always been a fan of these adorable Fumos, collecting them and adorning my room with their soft and colorful presence. My desk was covered in Fumo plushies, their button eyes seemingly watching my every move. I'd heard tales of strange occurrences at 3 a.m. when the boundary between our world and the supernatural realm grew thin, and I decided to see if any of them were true. Ask it to add specific characters? Well, it's too late now. With a trembling hand, I opened a web browser and began searching for fumo.exe, an alleged cursed game that would reveal the darker side of these normally cute characters. Holy shit, we have continuity! There's continuity! The stories claim that playing this game at the witching hour would summon malevolent Fumos who would invade your dreams and wreak havoc on your life. There's continuity in the story! Holy shit, we're building the lore, dude. We're building the lore right now. Okay. I downloaded the game. Oh, we found it. Okay. And as the clock struck 3 a.m., I nervously launched it. The title screen displayed a fumo with hollow, soulless eyes, and the usual cheerful music was replaced by a haunting melody. A chill ran down my spine as I pressed the start button. The game was eerily similar to the original Sonic.exe, with fumos replacing Sonic characters. The fumos on the screen had lost their characteristic cuteness and were distorted into grotesque, nightmarish versions. They twitched, their eyes empty voids, and they whispered disturbing phrases like, "You can't escape," and "We see you." As I progressed through the game, the levels grew darker and more sinister, and fumos were chased and tormented by horrific shadowy figures. My character began to bleed, and the atmosphere became increasingly oppressive. I felt as though I was being watched, not by virtual enemies, but by an unseen malevolence. That word has been in every single story, by the way. Suddenly, the game crashed, and a text box appeared on the screen. "They're here, watching you, even now." I frantically tried to exit the game, but found myself trapped. The lights in my room flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced menacingly. My fumo plushies, usually so comforting, seemed to leer at me from the shelves, their button eyes gleaming with malice. Whispers filled the room, soft giggles turned into maniacal laughter, and I realized that cursed fumos from the game were no longer confined to the virtual world. They had crossed into mine. In a state of sheer panic, I dashed for the door, desperately to escape the malevolent fumos. But as I flung open the door, I was met with a horrifying sight. The hallway was filled with looming fumos, their once cute faces twisted into a grotesque mask of horror. My screams echoed through the night, and the clock struck 4 a.m. I had survived the haunting hour, but my room was forever changed. The boundary between the virtual and the real had blurred, and the sinister fumos now resided in the shadows, waiting for anyone daring enough to venture into their world at 3 a.m. Okay, alright, chat. Let's do one more. Just one more. Just one more. One more and I gotta call it. But this is great. I'd love to do this again. We need something detailed, you know? Let's keep the fumo continuity going. We need some continuity here. Horror story about a YouTuber haunted by evil fumos. Okay, can we add to that? Start a new chat if you want a freshness. Yeah, we can do that. How do I do that? Oh, okay, I click new chat. Hello. Okay. Write a horror story about a YouTuber haunted by evil fumos. Fumos that he got at a garage sale. Hold on. Okay, let's try and combine those prompts. Okay. Creepypasta. Hold on. Write a creepypasta about a social media. Let's go YouTuber. Okay. About a YouTuber who bought fumos at a strange yard sale and set the time to 3 a.m. Okay. Alright. Let's see what happens. Title: The 3 a.m. Fumo Yard Sale. Okay. In the dark corners of the internet, amidst the sea of viral videos and trending memes, there existed a small and eerie niche community fascinated by the paranormal. Among them was a YouTuber known as Mark, who ran a channel dedicated to exploring abandoned places and conducting late-night investigations into the supernatural. It was one fateful evening that he stumbled upon a bizarre yard sale in a remote town which would change his life forever. This is Mark. Mark had received a tip from an anonymous source about a yard sale that promised unique one-of-a-kind items. Drawn by curiosity, he embarked on a long drive which led him to a desolate town shrouded in perpetual mist. The town had an eerie stillness, as if time itself had forgotten it. The yard sale was held in the yard of an old, dilapidated mansion, and the items on display were an odd assortment of the strange and unexplained. Among the curiosities, Mark noticed a peculiar collection of plush toys. These plush toys were called fumos, and they were said to be handmade by an artist who lived in the mansion many years ago. The fumos had a hauntingly realistic quality. Their button eyes seemed to follow Mark's every move. One fumo in particular caught his eye. It was a misshapen, grotesque creature with a twisted grin. The elderly woman running the sale told Mark it was rumored to be cursed, but he dismissed it as an old wives' tale. Pro tip, if you're trying to sell things at a yard sale, don't tell people shit's cursed. Mark, always in search of the next great YouTube video, couldn't resist the temptation of purchasing the sinister-looking fumo. He paid a small sum and the old woman whispered a cryptic warning as she handed it to him. Don't set the time on it to 3 a.m. Intrigued by this strange advice, Mark decided to make a video about his yard sale experience. He introduced the creepy fumo to his subscribers and decided that setting the time to 3 a.m. would make for a thrilling addition to his content. However, he was not prepared for what would happen next. As the clock ticked towards 3 a.m., Mark started to feel a growing sense of unease. He attempted to focus the camera on the fumo, but the room's temperature dropped, and the once grinning plush toy began to change. Its smile twisted into a sinister sneer, and its button eyes turned black and soulless. Mark's viewers watched in horror as the fumo's malevolent presence seemed to fill the room. Suddenly, the fumo lunged at Mark with startling speed and strength, knocking the camera to the ground. Mark's screams echoed through the video as the room plunged into darkness. The screen went black, and all that remained were Mark's terrified pleas for help. The next day, Mark's subscribers were left with a chilling, unfinished video. Mark was never seen or heard from again. The mansion and the yard sale mysteriously vanished without a trace. Some believed that the cursed fumo had claimed Mark, while others dismissed it as an elaborate hoax. The legend of the 3 a.m. fumo yard sale persists in the darkest corners of the internet, serving as a stark reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved and some strange yard sales are better avoided. One more, chat. One more. Write me a creepypasta about a Churno fumo from a garage sale going on a killing spree, but only at 3 a.m. Okay. Title: The 3 a.m. Churno Fumo's Revenge. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, there was a garage sale that would go down in local legends as one of the most horrifying events to ever occur. It was an ordinary Saturday morning when a curious teenager named Chris decided to explore the garage sale being held in his neighbor's driveway. As he browsed through the table of used toys, old books, and various knickknacks, he noticed a peculiar plush toy in the shape of Churno, a character from the Touhou Project. Known for her childlike appearance and ice-based power, what made this plush so unusual was its appearance. It was frayed, faded, and had a wicked grin etched across its face. The elderly woman running the sale told Chris it was a rare collectible and that it had a curious history, having been passed down through generations. Intrigued by the oddity, Chris decided to purchase the Churno Fumo for a mere pittance. The woman gave him a word of caution as she handed it to him. Remember, never set the time on it to 3 a.m. Chris, always seeking out thrills and adventures, couldn't resist the idea of creating a YouTube video about his haunted Churno Fumo. He introduced it to his channel subscribers and decided to set the time to 3 a.m. to see if it would spark any eerie activity. As the clock struck 3 a.m., an inexplicable chill settled in the room. Chris aimed the camera at the Churno Fumo and its wicked grin seemed to stretch even wider, exposing jagged, needle-like teeth. Its button eyes glowed with an unnatural malevolence. Chris's excitement turned to fear as the plush began to levitate, defying the laws of physics. It moved towards him, and its small childlike hands elongated into terrifying claws. It grew milker hands. Chris's subscribers watched in terror as the Churno Fumo went on a murderous rampage, darting around the room, its frayed dress flapping like a ghostly specter. Chris's screams echoed through the video as the room descended into chaos. In the final moments of the video, the camera dropped, capturing only the sound of Chris's desperate pleas and the sinister laugh of the Churno Fumo. The video ends abruptly. The next day, the video was taken down by YouTube for its disturbing content. Chris was never seen or heard from again. The garage sale had vanished, leaving behind only empty driveways and bewildered neighbors. The legend of the 3 a.m. Churno Fumo spread like wildfire across the internet, a chilling tale of seemingly innocent plush toy turning a malevolent spirit. The story served as a stark reminder that some things, no matter how innocent they appear, may hide dark secrets, and that setting the time to 3 a.m. can unleash horrors beyond imagination. Amazing. Okay, chat, one more. One more. New one. Give me the combination. Let's make it detailed. Give me a lot. We need a lot of detail to go into this one. What you mean, streamer? Write me a Write me an amazing creepypasta about a Churno fumo that kills people by throwing bricks at them. Okay. Make sure the Churno fumo is only active at 3 a.m. Include multiple characters and only let one of them survive. Or not. Okay. Are you ready? Are you Abaddon for the raid? Okay. Include all the silliest creepypasta tropes you know. Alright. Here we go, chat. Once upon a time, in a quiet, picturesque town nestled between misty forests and rolling hills, there was a legend whispered among the locals. It was a tale that sent shivers down the spines of even the bravest soul. A tale of a cursed Churnofumo, a plush toy that defied the boundaries of reality. The story began on the outskirts of town in a decrepit, abandoned toy factory. It was here that the Churnofumo was said to have been born. Legends claim that the toy had been stitched together by the twisted hands of a mad toy maker. One who believed that a doll infused with the spirit of the mischievous ice fairy, Churno, would bring good fortune. However, the creator's intentions went horribly awry. The cursed Churnofumo was unlike any other plush toy. Its button eyes gleamed with an eerie, otherworldly light, and its fabric was as cold as ice. It was said it only awakened at the witching hour of 3 a.m., and it emerged from its slumber with a malevolent person. Okay. I ran ahead. It was said to only awaken at the witching hour of 3 a.m., and it emerged from its slumber with a malevolent purpose, to throw bricks at unsuspecting victims. As the story goes, it was a dark and stormy night when a group of adventurous teenagers decided to venture into the abandoned factory. These teenagers embodied all the cliche tropes of a horror story. There was the jock, the cheerleader, the nerdy bookworm, the rebellious punk, and the protagonist who sensed something ominous in the air. As the clock struck 3 a.m., a deafening silence filled the air. The air grew icy cold, and the distant sound of children's laughter echoed through the factory's eerie corridors. They had unknowingly awakened the Churnofumo. The jock, always quick to boast his bravery, decided to taunt the legend by shouting, "Come out, you cursed doll!" A shadowy figure slowly emerged from the darkness, its button eyes glowing with an unnatural malevolence. In an instant, it flung a brick with a supernatural force, striking the jock in the chest, leaving him gasping for breath. The cheerleader screamed in horror, and the bookworm attempted to reason with the Churnofumo, but it was no use. The plush toy continued its relentless onslaught, hurling bricks with unnatural precision. The punk, desperate to defend his friends, tried to fight the doll, but his efforts proved futile. As the moments passed, panic gripped the group, and they scattered in all directions, fleeing from the relentless fury of the Churnofumo. The bookworm and the cheerleader fell victim to the cursed toy. Their screams echoed through the factory's haunted halls. Only the protagonist remained, desperately trying to unravel the mystery of the Churnofumo. Their flashlight revealed a trail of bricks leading deeper into the factory. Following the trail, they discovered a hidden chamber where the creator's diary lay open. It revealed the dark truth. The Churnofumo was bound to the factory, its malevolence unleashed by the anger and chaos that surrounded it. Followed a trail of bricks. The newfound knowledge, the protagonists hatched a plan. They used their wit to gather all the Churnofumo dolls within the factory and return them to the hidden chamber, sealing it shut. As the clock struck 4 a.m., the eerie laughter faded, and the factory fell silent once more. The town would never forget that night, and the legend of the cursed Churnofumo became a cautionary tale told around campfires. The protagonist, the sole survivor, carried the weight of that night with them, knowing that they had barely escaped the sinister fate that had befallen their friends. And so the story of the Fumo passed into local folklore, a tale of curses, supernatural dolls, and a courageous hero who survived to share the chilling tale of that fateful night. That was great. Can you write a sequel? Certainly, let's continue the story of the cursed Fumo with a sequel. Years have passed since the night of terror at the abandoned toy factory, and the legend of the Fumo had faded into the annals of the town's history. The townspeople whispered, and only in hushed tones, dismissing it as nothing more than a spine-tingling tale. But for the protagonist who had survived that dreadful night, the memory remained vivid and haunting. One evening, as the protagonist was flipping through the dusty old book in the town library, they stumbled upon a passage that made their hearts skip a beat. It spoke of a ritual, a way to summon the Fumo and control its malevolent spirit. The protagonist was driven by a mix of curiosity and a desire to put an end to the curse once and for all. With newfound determination, they began to investigate the legend further. They sought out obscure texts and considered elderly town residents who might still remember the truth behind the Fumo. After weeks of research, they had gathered enough knowledge to attempt the ritual. The clock struck 3 a.m., and the protagonist ventured back to the long-abandoned toy factory, the very place where their nightmare had begun. Armed with incantations and deep understanding of the curse, they performed the ritual in the hidden chamber. The air grew frigid and the ominous laughter echoed through the darkness. But this time it did not fill them with dread. The Fumo materialized before them, its button eyes blazing with an unholy light, but instead of malevolence, there was a glimmer of curiosity in its gaze. It spoke, its voice an eerie whisper. "Why have you summoned me, mortal?" The protagonists explained their purpose, to free the spirit of the Fumo from its cursed existence and put an end to the cycle of violence. To their surprise, the Fumo agreed, for it had grown weary of its dark, relentless existence. Together they worked to unravel the enchantments binding the Fumo to the factory. It was a perilous task, and the very fabric of reality seemed to twist and writhe, but with their combined efforts they succeeded. As the first light of dawn broke, the Fumo's form began to unravel, its essence dissipating into the morning mist. The curse was finally broken. The factory stood silent, no longer haunted by the malevolent spirit. The protagonist emerged from the factory triumphant with a sense of closure they had longed for. The legend of the Fumo was put to rest, replaced by a new story of redemption and liberation. The town, once gripped by fear, now celebrated the hero who had put an end to the curse. As for the protagonists, they knew that the memory of that fateful night would always be with them. A reminder of the courage it took to confront their fears and seek redemption for a cursed soul. And so the sequel to the Fumo legend became a tale of hope and forgiveness, reminding the townspeople that even the darkest of legends could find redemption in the end. Damn. Alright, chat. That's enough. 2.5 hours. Alright, I didn't expect ChatGTP to be that entertaining, but it really was. I enjoyed. I'm gonna have to do a little work on this one now, though, because of that. But yeah, there you go, chat. We had some solid stories. It was pretty fun. Can't believe I almost ended the segment an hour ago, but now we're gonna end it. Hope you enjoyed. Maybe we'll do some more stuff in the future with ChatGPT. I don't know, but for now, lock your doors and be careful of the witching hour, because they're coming. They may already be there, and you won't even know until it's too late.